What's up, guys? So last night I had a dream, and it was a very strange dream. Um, I essentially dreamt that I was in an underground base, and it had like corridors, but it was just like the feeling I got, what I was told, and what I was later shown to in the dream was that I was in a underground super collider, like one of those big circular colliders, kind of like a Cern or I know there's various different ones around the world, but Cern comes to me the most. But I was in the halls of a super collider, and they were just like tunnel like I wasn't in the machine itself. I was just walking the halls, but it was like tunnel like halls, and they were clearly rounded. Like I could look down and see that I was heading down like a bend essentially. Except it was dark. The whole place was really dark, and there were like towering beasts, like big, burly, shadowy men. Like I essentially got the vibe that there were Nephilim there, and so what I was getting in this dream, what I was being told essentially, is that there's this location. It's a super collider, and it's being run by Nephilim. Um, it was dark there. I kind of felt like I was being hunted. I wasn't directly engaged, but I had some. I was kind of like teleported around a lot to these locations. I was being shown stuff, and everywhere I kind of went, at least one of the Nephilim, which wasn't in my immediate vicinity, but they were like alerted to my presence and they came. So I felt like I was being hunted, but they never got so close. I then got like teleported to a different place, and then like shortly after, another one would be coming after me, and I got teleported around. So I felt like I was being shown this place. I was brought there to be shown this place, and I was brought to a second one, which was very similar but different, and I don't understand how. Maybe it was a separate level, maybe it was a different level, but basically I got the idea, I got the feeling that I was in a second location. It's very similar, same scenario going on. I was getting teleported around. It looked a little different. The lighting was a little different. There were still these guys chasing me to every teleportation spot that I was brought to, and eventually I got shown a map. Like I literally got shown a map. Now I can't remember it for the life of me where this was, but I was shown on this map where this ring was located, and I was shown like essentially right on the same spot, just slightly off, was the second location I'd been to. So I was being shown that there are two super colliders. Well, one I know for sure was a super collider. The second I didn't think was a super collider. It was something else. It kind of had a similar purpose, and it was built right on top of the other. They were slightly off, and they were both being run by Nephilim giants, and that's what I was shown in this dream. I kind of woke up, and I still had the feeling of like the presence being around. Mainly like standing in my doorway, like I felt like there was a presence of like a Nephilim spirit there. Eventually, like I rebuked it and it was gone. But as I was still laying there, like after the dream, either after or slightly before I rebuked this thing, I was just thinking of what I'd seen, what I'd witnessed in the dream itself. And if any of y'all had played Fallout 3, it was almost like the vaults in Fallout 3. Oh, that's what the second one was. The first one was a super collider. The second one was a vault. But it was a round vault. It went around, and I don't know what the vault was there for. I don't know if it was to house people or what the purpose was. But one was a vault, and one was a super collider, right on top of one another. Um, and it was really reminiscent of Fallout 3. Now, I wasn't really dreaming of Fallout 3, but it's a good analogy. If you remember, if you've played the video game Fallout 3 and you have to go into like the vault to get the FEV virus, and they had the super mutants there, it was essentially the same thing going on. Very ominous. The idea, it mirrors almost so directly the idea of this vault housing Nephilim versus the video game vault housing super mutants, but they weren't. Like, the designs aren't even the same. The Nephilim didn't look like super mutants. Like, it kind of really had nothing to do with that game except to use it as an analogy. and that there was a super collider there. So that was a dream I had just the other night. What is up, y'all? Verbal Flame 9 here. Welcome back to another video. Just the other day I filmed this video talking about this dream that I had, and today I was just thinking about the dream, and I decided to look into. I just decided to do some research, and I rewatched the video actually just now before recording this to kind of remember what I said and everything. So I mentioned that it was like a CERN-like facility. Now it turns out I was like, okay, well, let's look into CERN, because I don't know where, like, to be honest, I put my proton mail like to Switzerland, and then I was like, oh, I want to see where Switzerland is on the map, and I showed up the map, and in the previous clip I talked about, I was shown the location on where these two like round colliders are, and the other one I called a vault. But when I looked on Google Maps, it was the same location. So let's just pull this up. So like here you can see Switzerland, obviously, and it was like around this general location. The real thing is like over here somewhere. But I saw like this general landmass, and I saw two circles the same size, just one slightly offset. Now in my dream I called one was like a super collider, and then one was a vault, I said. And I also like add some detail, not that it's really necessary. All the lights in the place were off for the most part, except there was like backlighting everywhere I went. So when I saw the Nephilim, I didn't see visual details. I saw like their silhouettes with backlighting, and it was everywhere I went. In other words, if you want to think of like all the main lights were off, and like emergency red lights, backlit red lights were on in the facility for whatever reason. Now, I just searched up CERN on a map so I could get this picture. I don't know if you guys can see that clearly. Maybe I should open this on a separate tab. I don't know if I can view this full picture. And now I'm just here. Looking at this, you see the LHC, and that stands for Large Hadron Collider, but then there's SPS, and I was like, what is SPS, and what is this other circle? Like, I was kind of familiar with what CERN was, but not completely. I look it up, there's the big circle, and I knew it was like across borders. I just didn't know it was France and Switzerland. Now I know, but now there's this SPS thing, and I'm like, okay, well, what is this SPS? So I search up CERN SPS, and it's a super proton synchrotron. I don't know how to say that, but it's a different type of particle accelerator essentially. So there's two at CERN. I had no clue. I knew there was a Large Hadron Collider. I had no clue there was a super proton, whatever this is, which is a particle accelerator of a different type at CERN. So there's two at CERN, and when you look at them, there are these corresponding rings. So even though in my dream what I was shown, it was two rings, basically the size of this Large Hadron Collider. The other one would have been offset like this, if you follow my mouse, where it's kind of like overlapping the other one, but like not in the same location. Well, just doing the research, I just found that there's a small one here, and potentially maybe that's what I was like being shown. I just didn't really cue in. I didn't even know it was CERN. Like, when I told this in the last clip, I said it was like a CERN-like facility, but I wasn't confident that it was CERN. And now that I look it up, I'm fairly confident that I was being shown the CERN location in my dream for whatever reason. That being said, in my dream, when I was shown where this location was, it looked just like this satellite imagery, except there were no titles for locations and there were no borders. So if you get rid of all this white and you just have the landmass, that's what I was shown in my dream, with like the only thing that was shown were the circles, where they were like highlighted essentially, kind of like how they are in this image, except they were in white, not in red, like within this image. So it's just strange, obvious. And here's another thing, man. So if you search up CERN, so I understand the whole idea of Nephilim. Some of you are probably watching and you're not like on board with that whole idea, which is fine. Obviously, I'm talking to those who either have an open mind and they want to hear something else, or those who understand that the idea that Cern is opening portals and that we're kind of end times biblical type supernatural things, talk about Nephilim and such. Obviously, Nephilim is like a supernatural idea in a way. Depends on where your mindset is, obviously. Why I would be shown that they're at Cern while the lights are down and I was being hunted by them, I have no idea. But it would tell me that I'm being shown that either now or eventually Cern is going to be run by these huge Nephilim-like giants that seem to have been pretty aggressive. Now, when you search up Cern, you get two Cerns. Well, you get multiple Cerns that show up. But if you go down, it's called Cern Science Gateway. Which, if you're talking about portals and portals being a gateway, well, now we have Cern in its name calling itself a gateway, which was really surprising to me. Now, obviously, this looks like they're just like going. I don't know if this is the bridge or the whole location. I'm not entirely sure. Well, it looks like it's the whole thing, man. And this just looks like an intertwined serpent, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, Cern Science Gateway, which I just kind of, it obviously stuck out to me, because literally right before I decided to make this recording, I stumbled across the double concentric rings, and the fact that it's called Cern Gateway, and that it was the location I was shown in the stream. So I literally like quickly rewatched the last video just to see where the topics were, so I could just follow up with that. And then I started filming this right away. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there, because I'm kind of like in awe that I was shown this in a dream. Now, like, to be honest, like the last couple of days I was praying to the Lord, like, Lord, like, show me some stuff, give me visions, give me wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discernment, visions, and foresight and dreams, just because I want to be involved in seeing like some stuff that the Lord has to show me. And this is what he showed me. And only today, just now, while filming this video, I realized where this location was, that there were double rings, a second collider, and that it's called Cern Gateway, Cern Science Gateway. And the clip you just watched when I was in a different outfit, I recorded like 2 days ago. So this is like a follow-up to that. It's all going to be one video probably, but it's just amazing. I'm kind of speechless. Now, before I end things there, this is the Cern logo, obviously, and this is what the two concentric rings that were slightly offset in my dream look like. Obviously not like with these little parts sticking out, but the fact that you have two offset rings and they're the same size, that's how it was in my dream, which I find interesting, because why for their logo do they have two offset rings of the same size when on the map it's a big one and it's a small one? And so their logo has nothing to do with that. So that might be like some propheticness, especially since I think I've narrowed down that in my dream I was looking at Cern, and now their logo represents what I thought was being shown of the location. But maybe that's just like God or whoever showing me this dream, emphasizing to me that this is Cern, because he knew I would find the logo that represents both the location and what I was shown like for the maps of the two colliders. Interesting. Not only that, I knew one was a collider. I knew one of what earlier I called it a super collider, but I know one of the locations I was shown was the Large Hadron Collider. The second location I called a vault. I don't really know why I called it a vault. It kind of had a feeling of a vault. I knew when I was in it in the dream, I didn't really have an awareness as to what it is, but now I know they have the super particle accelerator, whatever the smaller guy is. So potentially I was shown that location as well, and I was unfamiliar with nailing down what it was, because while I was there in my dream, I was really unfamiliar with the location anyway. It could also be Like they might have a larger tunnel system down there that is kind of lesser known to the public. We just know of the two colliders, but what other tunnels are down there also? So there could be a vault down there that's just as big as the Cern collider, which is just kind of offset in the same way it is in this in these logos, versus how they're not really overlapping on here, but they are in the logo. So that could be something too. I don't know. I don't know too much, and I'm sure the information there's like information out there, but I'm sure it's pretty limited to what the actual location is. So